came down to Melbourne about 2.5 years ago with your wife to enable her to study veterinary science at university. How have you adapted into Victoria, given the fact, I suppose, the first 12 months was okay and the later 12 to 18 months has been pretty dreadful with the pandemic?
I think it's been dreadful for all of us, as I'm sure we'd all appreciate. Adjusting's been good. We'd done a bit of travel down to Melbourne, just the trips and things like that. And yeah, my wife's father lives down here, so we'd sort of had been down here and got to know it a little bit. And so I guess the transition itself was probably more getting to know the intricacies of the suburbs rather than being worried about the actual city itself. Yeah, the first year I came down and was living in Northcote, so not too far away from Preston. And we really loved the area. Very family oriented, some really nice restaurants and little cafes and bars and things like that. So that sort of lifestyle element was really cool for us. We really enjoyed that. Obviously took advantage of it as much as we could when at that point that was when we were sort of planning our wedding. So we're also sort of starting to build into sort of the wedding plan and everything else to do with it. And then, yeah, obviously COVID hit, March of last year, in a big way, I guess. It was sort of bubbling away for a little bit and then, hit in a big way. And what do? You just buckle. We had to buckle down and get through winter. I think we got up to see the family, I think once in between the first lockdown and the major lockdown or something, and then bunker down and just spend time with each other and make the best of Zoom calls and things like that, I guess. And then luckily things eased up last year and we could all get a bit of normality in over summer. So things like cricket and just getting out and about. We got married over the summer as well. So that was a highlight last year. And then obviously coming back down, we're hoping for a bit of an easier winter, but it hasn't come through for all of us. But I don't know, we've got a roof over our head. We can look after each other and keep each other company for now. And hopefully things over summer just ease back and we can obviously just get out and about and get back into our own little routines. But I guess from the broader sense, be able to play some cricket, have some more community sense. And then again, for us getting up to Sydney, it will be really good to see everyone again.
Fantastic. Fingers crossed for you. When you came down, you found your way to Premier Cricket, Greenvale Kangaroos, and you had 2 seasons there, played about 30 games. How did you enjoy Victorian Premier Cricket as compared to Sydney Premier Cricket?
I would say it's very similar. Obviously, everyone always asks, what's it like and what's it compared? How does it compare? But it's certainly very similar cricket. There's no surprise as to why New South Wales and Victoria are pretty dominant, I would say. And it's probably, it all feeds on the back of Premier Cricket and strength and the competitiveness and the skill ultimately, how the players are able to compete each week and put their skills and their best foot forward each week. And obviously the best ones push that next step on. Definitely enjoyed the challenge of it. Was when I got down here, there were a few different options to look at cricket wise, but having an opportunity, I guess, to go and play Premier Cricket and just sort of see what it was like. Greenvale was obviously a very young club, or it is a very young club, and was developing, and going there in sort of a leadership capacity was an opportunity, I guess, to try and help guide some of these young kids through some of my experience and to try and help them. And we also ended up getting a couple of other experienced guys into the club as well, but help and guide them through some of their journey and the initial parts of their journey in Premier and senior cricket, because it can be a pretty hard and daunting place when you come up against. And I think Greenvale, as I say, it was a very young team, so there were some really good performances, some real shining lights, but then you obviously have the challenges of a younger side being inconsistent and then coming up against older sides and more experienced sides who know what to do week in, week out, know how to prepare, know how to get the job done regardless of circumstance and find a way. And that's the challenge that I think we encountered, which wasn't expected. It was always going to be a challenge when you have a young group, but the good thing was there were some really good young kids who came and shone through and putting their best foot forward and really starting to push their case in Premier Cricket, which is what Premier Cricket's about. So it was definitely not easy not winning week in, week out, but sometimes you just got to look at what's realistic and hopefully think about the development for that group and learn to compete, learn to do it week in, week out, prepare well and get better each week. And I think the group and the side are starting to get some stability, albeit that I have left the club obviously last year. Yeah. But I think over there, there's a few guys who are starting to put their best foot forward and understand their games. And from what I hear, they're starting to gel as a group. So hopefully this season progresses and they start to just push that a little bit further up the ladder and start to make a few more inroads, which I think there's some opportunity to. It's just a matter of doing it week in, week out.
Yes. And you did pretty well. You scored over 600 runs in the 2 seasons there. So you were batting again in the middle order.
Yeah, I would have liked to have scored a few more, to be honest. I think from what I was used to, there was probably a little bit more grass on the wicket, if I'm honest, down here. Yeah. The weather probably brings that out a little bit, but yeah, not too bad. Obviously, I think I was batting sort of 4 and 5 and for most weeks, or most games in most formats, which wasn't too bad. It was a little bit higher than what I probably had been used to at Bankstown and things like that. But yeah, scored a few. Would have liked to have scored more, I'd say. Would have been nice to have been able to put a few more on the board and just really push our case a bit further.
Yeah. Did you keep, Michael?
No, not once. No, we had when I came down, Bernie Kelly was keeping in the first year, and he's got some very, very tidy glove work. So I was more than happy not to touch the gloves. I think I said when I left my gloves in Sydney, I left my gloves in Sydney. I put them in the bin after our last game. So I came down with no intention of wicket keeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after 2 years, you've found your way to Preston. How did you get there? What was the mechanism behind that?
A phone call from Hazy. Yeah, Hazy reached out at sort of the very back end of the year, or maybe just after the season had finished, and just said he'd love to have a chat with me about next season. He had obviously captain and obviously did some really great things with the side pushing into the finals last year, and with the way the side moved, and he said that he was stepping aside and they're looking for a first grade captain, and he was wondering what I was going to be doing. So he had the call. We caught up for a coffee, and he blindsided me with Luke Bramich there to try and push me into a corner, as he likes to joke. But no, it was a really good conversation. We just started talking about where I was at and what I was looking for, and with my own cricket, and I was obviously trying to understand where Preston was at, what he was doing, what the side was doing, and after a few conversations, like I was probably looking to step back from Greenvale. The travel was probably a bit difficult for one, just getting out there and really doing what I needed to do as a leader and for the group with what they needed. So it was always going to be really difficult to make that firm commitment and fulfill what I needed to do for the group. And so just talking to Hazy and Bram and a few other little bits and bobs, and it seemed like a pretty good fit with where the club's at, what I was probably looking to do, and where I could fit in, and hopefully where I can help.
Yes. And difficult coming into the club during the pandemic. A lot of Zoom calls, not being able to train with guys doesn't get much tougher than that. So let's hope from next week things can open up a bit, and you can get down there and do what you're going to bring to the club, which is wonderful experience and obviously quality attributes as a player. So all the best for the season, Michael. We will look forward to watching you and seeing your progress and seeing the team progress. You've also scored yourself an important role in the corporate area. You work in the corporate space as a project manager for one of the large companies that supports big corporations. Business in Melbourne, how's that been for you through COVID?
It through COVID, it's been interesting because that's when I sort of transitioned into my role. So it was, yeah, previously I'd worked in HR for quite a few years in a few different things, and then took a completely sideways step. Yeah, like you say, into a project manager role in corporate services in the middle of the pandemic when we were in the middle of lockdown. So I think I first met the team and some of the guys who helped support the projects maybe in, I don't even know when it was. I think I started the role in September. I think I first met some of the guys in maybe May of this year. So it was all online, and obviously, at least like I'd known the manager and I'd known a few of the other some of the management group from my previous role, but it was certainly a challenge. You don't have someone, you can't turn around to someone in the office and lean on their expertise or advice when, to be frank, you've got no idea what the hell you're doing because you've never done that type of role and you don't have that sort of skill. But the team and the business itself has been very helpful and very, very generous with their time to help me get upskilled into my role. And it's like anything with COVID, you just got to make the best of it, don't you? Use the online tools that you've got, use your team chats and use your videos, try to interact and try and communicate and build rapport in a different way that you normally would, I guess. And then, like you say, when you're supporting clients, you just got to try and do the best you can and build that rapport as much as you can and try to do the best job you can. There's not much more you can do, is there?
No, that's right. Well, I think we're indeed very fortunate to have recruited you, Michael, as a club. You bring so many qualities, excellent speaker, wonderful experience, and obviously fantastic skills to be able to compete at the level you have. So welcome to Preston, and we hope this year is just fantastic. You have a great time settling in, and we look forward to meeting you in person.
Thanks, Lee. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I look forward to meeting yourself and everyone in the 1860 group. And yeah, hopefully we can have a few wins. It'd be nice to push that in after all of this.